Awesome. Welcome back to the Hornthrowers podcast. We are joined with a special guest, Manawydan. Am I pronouncing that? Manawydan?
Okay, well, you guys are Welsh.
Yeah,
so-
I thought it was Welsh. I did think it was Welsh. And it's part from the Mabinogion, isn't it?
I honestly,
Yeah.
a few days ago, you told me that it was Welsh, and I was like,
Yeah, I
of
was
course,
thinking
look at
about it
the
for
Y's
ages. I was
and
like,
stuff like that in it, of course.
It's
I
Welsh.
say Manawydan, but however, it's
It
supposed
might
to
be
be pronounced
Manawydan, maybe. Oh, it's not got the.
Manawydan.
Usually, if there's two D's, it's like a the sound, but it's only one, so it might just be Manawydan.
And Y's make an I sound. So
Manawydan, like a short I.
Yeah.
Okay,
possibly. I don't know.
I'm gonna
get
learn
taught
how to
Welsh.
pronounce my own band name.
Yeah, we get taught Welsh in school, but they don't make it fun, so you don't pay
Oh,
attention. And then
That's
once you've left
understandable.
school, you realise that Welsh is interesting, and
Unlike
Yeah.
the cultural aspect of it, of oh no, this is a language that was, forcibly suppressed by the English.
Right,
Children
right,
were beaten and punished in schools for speaking in Welsh, and it's like a.
right.
So then, I think we all have the same experience of then downloading Duolingo and trying to learn Welsh as a kind of like subtle act of rebellion.
but then it
Yes.
doesn't have the dialect because there's like we're from North Wales and like North and South.
Dog Welsh.
Yeah, North and South have got different words for different things, and the Duolingo
Yeah.
is like a mashup of both. So
And as a
Okay.
history nerd, I think that the North Welsh should be the standard one because it's kind of the purer form of Welsh, because we were kind of colonized last, so we kind of retained the culture for a bit longer than
I think you just started a lot of fights when you said that.
probably. Well, the North always gets like shit on, like the same with the north of England. Everyone cares about Cardiff, they don't care about Wrexham.
But
Until now, when like there's a Netflix show about, no, a Disney Plus show about us, and Ryan Reynolds visits here all the time.
I'll die on the hill that Gog Welsh is the
Yeah.
true Welsh.
Anyway, enough about us. We
Yeah.
usually start with what was your like introductions to like extreme music and then playing music yourself?
So I from my like musical formation, when I started to seek my own music, it was first it was hip hop, and we're talking early 80s hip hop, so like Run DMC and Houdini and stuff, and then punk. And then was followed by post punk and goth and that kind of stuff. So I really consider myself like a punk kid first and foremost, and it seems like a lot of leftist metal folks come from punk rather than come from deep in the metal scene.
That's something we've discovered from our podcast. That Simon from Dawn Raid, the guy from Dawn Treader, there's like pretty much every lefty black metal band that we speak to, their intros like hardcore punk into grindcore, then eventually discovering black metal.
Yeah, that was like my dad would like play Motorhead and that, and my mum would play like loads of like NoFX and stuff like that. And obviously, being like 27, I was a kid around the 9/11 stuff, so all the George Bush stuff went into my head and stuff, and it was all. And my mum got all into like that sort of American sort of punk stuff, and then my dad was like, "Here's Carcass," and
your dad's a really weird example because he likes like bands like Satyricon and things like that as well.
Yeah, my dad's music taste is crazy because my dad used to like he was like about my age in the late 80s, early 90s, and he'd just go into record shops and go, "What's the weirdest looking record I can find?" and pick it up. That's why he liked Carcass, because of the first Carcass record.
Oh, with just all the collage of like medical autopsies and
Now that sounds like my MO. What's the weirdest thing I can find? But so from punk, like when I was growing up in high school or so, like the punk and metal scenes were very segregated. There wasn't, even with thrash and stuff, there really wasn't a lot of crossover in my area. So like I started listening to like DRI and stuff, which I really liked a lot, and like West Coast hardcore and thrash. I wasn't quite so into Metallica and Megadeth, although they were there and they had some, I liked a few of their songs, but like I wasn't in that scene at all. And it wasn't till, but there's always metal stuff that I've liked, right? So like Pantera. There are a couple Pantera songs, fuck Phil Anselmo, but
no white wine here.
And oh, by the way, I'm from Columbus, Ohio, where Dimebag Darrell was shot and killed. So
oh, okay.
Yeah, I have like family that live in Ohio because my grandpa's from Youngstown.
Really?
My family live
Whoa,
in
okay.
Is it Austintown?
Yeah, it's like a weird like World War II love affair kind of family history.
Yeah, so I've got like family that we didn't know about until a few years ago because of remarriages and stuff, and yeah. So I've not been yet, but I've always wanted to go. And my grandpa took my mum at a certain age, my auntie, my other auntie, and he's never taken us, me and my siblings. So he needs to.
Well, if you come to Ohio, please let me know because I'll show you around.
Hornthrowers.
A lot of people that grow up here hate it, but there's a lot of cool stuff about Ohio that I can put you on to.
Sweet.
Sweet. Speaking of Ohio, what is what drew you to the history that you speak about with Ohio in terms of like the imperialist sort of stuff?
So Ohio, I find, is a very interesting place historically. It's been settled for thousands and thousands of years, and just like the rest of this continent. But when we grow up, and I'm sure you understand this, when we grow up learning history, and there's like certain grades you have to take Ohio history. So it goes woolly mammoths and mastodons, because we found a few of those frozen or buried in Ohio. Then it goes to the mound builders, these mysterious mounds. Nobody knows how they got here or why. And then there's statehood and canals and railroads and the mother of presidents, or like 5 presidents from here or whatever. I don't know. And that's how we learn our history, Ohio history.
Because you guys didn't become part of the US until after the Revolutionary War, like in the whole Manifest Destiny expansion westwards.
Right. 1803 was when Ohio got statehood. So before that, like between American independence and 1803, Ohio was part of what was called the Northwest Territory, and it was a wilderness area that was governed, and like settlement was really restricted. Yes, sweetie. Can we put that on pause?
Yeah, we'll edit this section out.
I'm asking her if she can put it on pause, but whatever, either one's fine.
Yeah.
I gotta be on this call, baby.
I can't put my nugget in my room.
Not yet, but we can do it later. Yay! Okay, I struck a deal, I think. Whew, hope it holds. Okay. Ohio history. So tribes and nations, indigenous tribes and nations were being pushed from the eastern seaboard westward, of course. And then during the British control of this area, this was a no-go zone for white folks after the Treaty of Fort Stanwix, and I can't remember the year of that. But it was supposed to be a refuge for indigenous people, supposedly. Of course, that's on paper.
Series of broken treaties and
exactly. And so after American independence, though, this area was looked at for settlement, and that's when the Northwest Territory was set up as a way to kind of govern and kind of control the sale of land. And then I always say, like, the forefathers of the hedge fund industry were working here. So there were land speculators, there were surveyors, and there are all kinds of people divvying up this land before it was even settled by white people. There was just like a mad rush to make money off of this land. Meanwhile, this had become a refuge for tribes like the Shawnee, the Lenni Lenape or Delaware people who had been pushed from the East Coast. the Miami people were settled in this area, and they were kind of hosted some of these folks that came here as essentially refugees. And from the time from 1750 to 1800-ish, actually up to like 1812, 1814, from the War of 1812, this was frontier country. So it was forts, and it was a war zone. There were big towns and villages of indigenous folks. There were mixed cosmopolitan towns of colonists and traders and that sort of thing, mixed with like several different indigenous nations living together. So it was a really interesting place from that perspective. It was like 1750 to 1800. This was the clash of cultures right here in Ohio, and that to me is much more interesting than canals or presidents.
Definitely. How did the War of 1812 change that? Just sorry, you mentioned it, and I was just curious.
No, it's cool. Well, the British occupied a fort in Detroit well after the Revolution. So it wasn't until the War of 1812 that they finally abandoned that fort and left American territory. My mom just sent me a message that said, "Watch those Welsh," because I told her I was going to be on this podcast. Gotcha, Mom. I got my eye on.
Big Hornthrowers greetings to your mom.
So yeah, so the British were still here in this area. We're about 3 hours southeast of Detroit. So I mean, by car, of course. So like a day or two, a day-ish travel on horseback, you're in British-held territory after post-revolution. So the indigenous folks that were here were trying to rely on the British for arms, for supplies, and for military support to try to push these crazy Americans back across the Ohio River and the Appalachian Mountains, to try to prevent further encroachment.
And conceivably, it wasn't an altruistic thing on the British side. It was no. We'll use sort of native peoples to undermine the
exactly
new United States.
Yeah,
exactly. And when they saw it wasn't working to their advantage, the British were like, sorry, we can't help anymore.
Yeah.
And so thus the Americans swarmed over and took over. But during that time, from 1850 to 1800, there were some very decisive battles. Well, I don't want to say decisive, but very surprising victories for indigenous folks here, and like very well coordinated military campaigns between confederations of tribes and nations. And the Americans got whooped several times here in Ohio before it was all said and done.
Yeah, because I know that's what the single off the title single off your new EP is about, like where it was the Wabash River. Yes.
So this was 1791, I believe. The first American army, meaning after the Revolution, America didn't want a standing army at that time, but with this Indian problem, they decided they wanted to put together a regulated army to try to protect their expansion. So under the leadership of Governor Arthur St. Clair, who was the governor of this Northwest Territory, they put him in command of a regular army and some volunteer militias. So they marched north from what is now Cincinnati. They marched north to the Wabash River, and they camped overnight. And when they woke up, they were completely surrounded by the Confederation of Indigenous tribes and warriors, and they got routed. And it was like 80-some% casualties on the American side, it was incredible. It was unheard of at the time. St. Clair was ordered to return to Washington, or to Philadelphia, which was the capital at the time, and face the first congressional hearing. It was like a big mess at the time. It's not really widely taught, but for its time, it was like a humiliating defeat for America, and it was considered a very serious problem.
That's fascinating, and I'm definitely going to do some reading on that, because I tend to find, like, stories of non-linear warfare and kind of like that kind of like resistance by maybe like against a technologically more advanced civilization, and then winning, like, very fascinating and inspiring stories. So that's definitely going to be some reading I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, I didn't realize Ohio was that interesting. As
See?
someone with people that came from there. So I'm wondering, like, because I know we did our family tree and stuff, and they know they went to America from Cornwall, ended up I think they came through New York, and then I think they lived in Pennsylvania. I'm like,
okay,
when did they arrive in Ohio? And I kind of wonder, I'm gonna do some digging and figure things out. Very cool. Yeah. So the song is told through the story of a specific guy as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. William Wells, who was named Apaconet in the Miami language, he was the son-in-law of Chief Little Turtle of the Miami people. Here in Ohio, there's a bunch of Little Turtle stuff. There's a Little Turtle subdivision, and there's all kinds of Little Turtle stuff here. And that's kind of common all over America. Like, the people that were slaughtered and pushed away, they kept the names of all their things and people.
Become almost like a tourist attraction after the fact.
Right. But Chief Little Turtle, or Mishakaniqua, as he was known in the Miami language, he was father-in-law to William Wells, or Apaconet. And William Wells was like a full-fledged member. He was captured in a raid, and he was adopted into the Miami tribe. So as he grew up, he became a warrior, as all young men at the time did. And William Wells led a sharpshooting team in that battle. And obviously the battle was successful, so William Wells was on the winning side as a Miami warrior. And to me, that's an interesting story in itself. And whenever I'm telling these indigenous stories in the form of black metal, I'm trying to, or not trying, I am consciously not giving the native perspective, because I don't know that native perspective. So I have to find other ways to kind of tell the story as a third person, or in this case, like a first person participant who's not indigenous, right? So William Wells was a great character to kind of talk through, and the things he says, or the voice that I give him in the song, rise up warriors, that he'd be talking to his brothers, come on, rise up warriors, and Creator gave us the day. So William Wells, believing in the cosmology of the Miami people, he would understand that Creator gave him this battle, and so it was important for me to find ways to tell the story like that, but not claim indigeneity, which I am not indigenous. So
and that's like a really interesting perspective to write from, and just as an author, I suppose the way that he had a foot in kind of both worlds.
Right.
It's kind of like narratively, it's a tool that's used in like a lot of films and books, like Avatar, for example, and stuff like that. But yeah, and it was super common for like white people to kind of defect over to the native side, because especially in the earlier days of colonization, like in the 1600s, early 1700s, it was like their freer, almost like more anarchic way of life was a lot very attractive to the people who were from like Jamestown, or like, and I remember reading about like accounts of like the governor of of Jamestown like really struggling with the problem of how many like young men were going off to live with sort of the Powhat. Well, I can't remember the name. Was it the Algonquin people that Powhatan was the king of?
I can't remember, honestly. I'm not too up on that area of history.
I didn't want to like name the wrong nation or anything, but yeah, like it was like a real like problem with like people being like so enamored with this other way of living that was so much freer, and that they were having to pass like legislation and really harsh penalties for people who would try to go and live with the Native Americans.
I mean, if you were living in a swamp in Virginia in 90-degree heat and you had 3 layers of wool and steel armor on top of that, would you rather live like that every day, or would you rather go would you rather go, live with people who have a freer lifestyle?
No, you can see why it would be attractive for sure.
I mean, it's more than just the clothing, obviously, but
yeah.
So what just led you to then integrate that sort of piece of Ohio history with like black metal and like the REBM sort of scene?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, that's always been my politics. I've always been, left to center to far left. But as I was telling you earlier, I just graduated from college at, over 50 years old with my first bachelor's degree last spring. So in that last semester, I had a class with Professor Tommy Davis, and it was called Insurgent Youth, Punk, Riot Girl, and Black Metal. And I had been listening to stuff like Dawn Raid, and I'd been listening to like some kind of left hardcore stuff up, for years up until then, like Wolf Down. I know Wolf Down has had some issues, but when they first came out, they were pretty sweet. And I discovered Dawn Raid and a bunch of like leftist death metal and stuff like that, which is super dope. And I found this class and I was like, this is the way to go out. Last semester, this class is going to be sick. And it was an amazing class. One of our projects in the middle of the semester, we had to make a zine. So I made a zine. It was a flip zine. So one side was indigenous metal and you flip it over, and the other side was African metal bands. And so that was a fun project. And then we had to choose a final project. And then the last unit in the class was black metal, and we had really done a deep dive into all things black metal, and sound, the aesthetic, lyrics, the ugly side, and the atmospheric side, and NSBM to RABM. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a metal project for my final project. I'm gonna make a band, and I'm gonna write 3 songs, and I'm gonna do a cassette release. And so this is like super ambitious, right? But I was already a musician. I've already been recording and that sort of thing. Nothing big. This is like the biggest thing I've ever done. But I thought I could do this. I'm a musician. I have some range. I've done it. Like I make hip hop beats and stuff. But I play guitar, and I could do this. And so I did it. I wrote Janaden Hutton was the first single. That's the first black metal song I ever wrote. And I like the way it came out. Like now in retrospect, like I could do better, but for the time and starting out, I think it came out pretty good. And then I did the song Colonel Crawford's Execution, which is I guess a bit more crust punk, but definitely still in that vein. And then 1782 was a instrumental track that I had. It's kind of a dark drill influenced track, and I put some guitars on it, and it's probably a filler track on that, but it came out well. And there's the first cassette. This is the original demo cassette. In fact, there's the master. And I hand dubbed these, and so I started off with 6 copies. One will turn in for my final project, And then I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put the rest up on Bandcamp and see what happens. So I started the page, and like they all sold out, 6 copies. But still, for someone who's never made metal music before, let alone put out a release, and this is my first foray, I was thrilled. But then it started getting listens and started getting attention, and the folks at Liminal Dread Productions contacted me and said, hey, we'd like to work with you. And I was skeptical because I didn't know who these guys were, and I've heard lots of horror stories about labels. Yes, baby. Oh yeah, that's the stand. It's amazing. And she's bumping my ring light stand, so this might get bumpy here. Okay.
Budding camera.
And yeah, Michael and Matt at Liminal Dread were like, hey, we love this demo. This is amazing. We'd like to put this out. And so after some talk, we had a Zoom conversation, and they answered all my questions, and we came up with a deal. And it's a distribution deal, not a recording contract per se, but yeah, it's like they agreed to put this music out and run the digital shop, and so this project that started off in class as kind of a challenge to myself became a thing that I'm doing now. So that's how it happened.
That's pretty cool.
Shout out to Professor Tommy Davis at Ohio State University.
I wish I could have taken that class. To be honest.
So cool.
Oh, it was amazing. It was so fun.
What was the course you did, like the degree title?
What's that?
What was like the subject of the degree you did?
English creative writing with a minor in history.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Because I did like film history and theory. So my background, is like in film studies. So Rob has brought over
look there.
So this is Tad.
What's up, Tad?
So the blonde one's Tad, and the brown one is Fenris. Hey, this is a Daegu.
What is it? A Daegu?
Yeah, they're kind of like mini chinchillas, and they're from South America.
Isn't he cute? Oh, nice.
My train of thought is gone.
I know.
Okay, good. I thought this would be a better idea than just having him rattle the cage, but it does seem
right.
I'm gonna put him back, and hopefully that was enough.
Yeah. Can you go build a castle?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Whilst we've had that interjection, I'll edit some of this bit.
Yeah, a little
sure.
I forgot, we haven't asked you to pick 5 songs. So on the top of your head, we'll ask you towards the end with a question or something, and then ask like 5 songs that have inspired you. Because usually we ask everyone, I think we must have forgotten.
Okay.
Because I've been working like loads of late nights lately because my manager in work isn't arsehole. So, and then you work in the day, so we've not really, apart from to like record the show on Tuesday, we've not really managed to
like see each other.
Yeah, to figure some stuff out.
Just...
Okay, wait a minute. Are you asking me to pick 5 songs for the radio show?
Yeah.
Or just 5 songs that I like, or
5 songs for the radio show.
Yeah, and if you'd like to like kind of like elaborate on why they were kind of impactful or like influential to what you're doing now.
Okay. Cool. Okay. I wish I had some more time to think about that, but
sorry about that.
Get it together. No, it's all good.
I realized at the start, I was like, oh, wait, the 5 picks.
There's usually like a bit of a structure to the show, but
yeah. It's getting dead
no,
warm
it's all
as
good.
well. It's getting dead warm, and we've
I'm
had
gonna
to.
be.
Yeah,
I'm gonna scan my Spotify and see what
Yeah.
I've been listening to lately.
That was one thing I wanted to touch on again about
Okay.
the hip hop mixes. So we'll start again from the last bit.
Okay.
So obviously you said you got a background in hip hop as well. Is that why
Mhm.
you have like the sort of trip hop remixes of the songs on the new EP?
Yes. I'm glad to talk about that. So yeah, I have that background in making beats, and I made beats for like lots of local rappers and stuff, and that's cool. And I love hip hop and trip hop, and huge Massive Attack fan, and hip hop fan. I love hip hop too. So when I started making black metal, I did that one myself. When I started making black metal, I was, I thought I've got to put all of myself into this, who I am, and I don't want to be a black metal poser. And although I'll probably be called that, and I don't give a shit, but no, that's electronic production. That's what I've done for years and years, and besides play guitar. So I included that, like in the demo, I put the track, that extra track in there just to kind of fill it out. But when Liminal Dread contacted me, they're like, "Oh, we love that you did that last track on there is amazing, and want more of that." And so, okay. And then working with some other artists on the label, we've done some collabs together, and I've been asked to do like benefit releases and stuff, and a remix is a lot easier and faster for me than writing a metal track from scratch. So I put together a crazy remix of something that I've already done, and I kind of like the way they turned out. It's weird, it's not expected, it's probably not going to have wide appeal in the metal community, but like, I don't care. This is what I do, and I like trap beats, and I'm not necessarily like a trap metal fan. I know it's a thing out there, and it's not my
I didn't even
thing
know
necessarily.
No,
it is a thing.
I can see how trap would work really well with like sort of post metal. Like, I'm surprised Death Heaven haven't done a trap metal track, because
now I'm gonna remix some Death Heaven.
I would be very into
I'd be
that.
I'd be excited to hear that, actually.
But no, I do think it's pretty cool, the idea of like infusing sort of like hip hop elements with metal. I think as well, like being into, you said you're into like early like hip hop and stuff like that. That was also very political, so it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
and
sorry.
I like drill music too, and although there's problematic elements in drill music, but sonically, like the like skippy off kilter beat, and a lot of drill music has like really dark ambient background music and samples, and I think that's super cool. So I thought for a couple of remixes, I thought I'd do kind of a drill beat. Like I did a drill for the split that just came out a week ago.
Yeah,
I did a dark drill remix of Colonel Crawford's Execution, and I thought that came out pretty cool. It's very dark and broody and drilly. I don't know.
that's pretty cool. You want to sort out the guy?
Yeah, they're being very.
Whilst he's sorting out the Daegu, yeah, because my sort of foray into hip hop was like, so I was really into like punk and metal, but then obviously I was like a teenager and all that was like the deathcore stuff. Got into Decapitation, started getting heavier. I was studying music technology, and then the tutor was like, "You need to listen to other stuff," and put me on to like Wu-Tang Clan, and then
Out to Ann Dickinson.
yeah. So then, yeah, Ann Dickinson was the tutor in the thing. But yeah, then I got really into like sort of like Kendrick Lamar and stuff like that, because I always found it very interesting. Like when a lot of people like see like pop songs and they have like a feature from a rapper and they're just talking about like it's like the sort of like candy unhealthy version of it. Then when you listen to like was like To Pimp a Butterfly, that whole album, like all the references to like literature and stuff like that and the metaphors, it's crazy how like intellectual it gets.
Absolutely.
Like, I really
Kendrick is amazing.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it for a while because then I got heavily back into metal again, and then I'm like,
yeah.
So it was,
I also feel like being a leftist and being like concerned with the plight of African Americans and Black folks around the world, you can't really understand or empathize with the Black experience if you don't understand Black music, and that includes hip hop and drill and R&B and stuff like that. And so, like, to be a metalhead or a metal fan and not want to delve into other experiences, you're becoming a Wu-Tang wanker or or something,
I find that interesting as well, because most musicians listen to a lot. If you care about music, you listen to everything.
Right.
It's like when people have a go about Justin Bieber wearing a Slayer shirt, and it's like he probably does like Slayer.
Right.
Like the whole weird Cradle of Filth Ed Sheeran thing. It's like they probably do like each other's music.
Yeah. I love all kinds of music, and that includes country and jazz. Not all country, but there's a lot of amazing country, and country started largely with Black folks. Let's be honest. So
I was shocked, like, because I quite like country and Western music, and I was shocked to find out that a lot of the like outlaw kind of country music was very progressive and left wing, like people like Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. Like I saw like a talk show, of the, when they did the Highwayman thing, where it was
right.
And all of them were talking about like left-wing points of view about like raising taxes on the wealthy to fund education and healthcare and all of this stuff, like in the 80s and 90s. And I was like, why is this the soundtrack of the Republican Party when like they're actually pretty progressive individuals?
Well, because like a lot of stuff, it gets co-opted, right?
Yeah.
And so and then we've had a real problem getting the working class on board with unity and left-wing values when American individualism is king here. So,
but sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is like the labor movement in America has got such like a rich and vibrant history that like I've got like American friends, and I find myself like in a way almost like teaching them their own history. Like a really good friend of mine had never heard of it, who's a leftist, had never heard the Battle of Blair Mountain as an example.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which I can't remember which predates it, whether the Tulsa massacre was before or after it, but I think it was one of the first, if not the second time that the American Air Force had ever bombed somebody, was them bombing their own population and bombing socialists at the Battle of Blair Mountain.
Yeah.
And it's just wild, but
it's very purposely not taught. Those it's hoped that those movements and the histories of those movements are going to fade away over time.
Yeah, I do think though the worse things get now, I do think it's going to have a resurgence. Like, well, at the moment, there's like the writers' strikes, isn't there, in Hollywood and stuff like that. And I saw Jamie Lee Curtis posting before about how, with like the whole AI stuff now, and how they've literally, like, one of the Russo brothers literally talked about how with AI, people will be able to make their own films at home and like put themselves in it. And like, she shared this big post about how, people need to stand up to this now, because otherwise these writers won't have a job. And the rate things are going at, it could be the next 10 years where like writers just can't get work.
That's the depressing side of it, that we foresaw like AI and automation as being something that would free, sort of like people from drudgery and menial tasks, but it's actually the fun, creative things that we thought that we'd be able to spend our free time on when we've been freed by them.
Right.
Are the jobs that the machines are
Yeah.
taking. It's really like it's a real third act plot twist I wasn't expecting.
Right.
Yeah, that is the dark part. It will be like the Terminator future, but like the Terminators are having great art and culture, and we're just there crying, building the machines.
Oh, 10 years time, there is going to be a completely AI generated left-wing black metal podcast out there. I'm calling it.
That's exciting.
It's gonna be like, have you ever played Detroit Become Human?
I really want to because I love cyberpunk as a genre.
It's gonna be like that, but it's gonna be the reverse, where like you're playing as an actual person, not an AI. So, that's a good dark twist.
Oh, we live in the bad timeline.
We do live in the bad timeline. Onto a lighter topic, though. I know you said you mentioned about zines. What's your like?
Yes.
What drew you to zines? And like, I know there's one with the new EP and the tape. So, what's your interest in zines?
I've always been into DIY culture, partially because of being into punk, and partially because I grew up not having a lot, and so if you want to do shit, you got to do it yourself. And bands would put out tapes and they design their own labels, and that was like half the fun of not just making the music, but making the product itself and getting to hand it out. And I've made a few poetry zines. I wasn't like a super zinester when I was a punk kid, but later on, like I made a couple poetry zines. And then I think this class that I took last semester really got me into it again, and thinking, yeah, remember that stuff you used to do? You can do more of that, and you can do as much as you want. So I also have a job. I work at a library, our local library, and I run a media center for teens. And so I need to come up with kind of media projects to try to engage teens. And so zines happen to be one of the things that was accessible and easy and fun to do. And so I kind of have like gotten back into producing zines myself, for myself and as a tool to help teenagers kind of express themselves. So yes, there I have a copy of the mini zine that comes with the pre-order, or comes with the order of the cassette. If you buy the new Wabash cassette, it has basically, it's like extended liner notes. So it has a little bit of history, the lyrics, the credits, and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a fold out kind of full page poster. Not on this one. This was the first prototype. They didn't have the.
That's really
but it
cool.
unfolds. It unfolds, and it has a whole bunch more information and doodles and stuff.
Now I've realized how that fits together, because when you sent the PDF, I was like turning my laptop upside down to read it.
Yeah. So, and I don't have the full copy with me, unfortunately. Actually, maybe I do. Hold on. Where did I put it? Ah, it's not here with me. Anyway, yes. So the mini zine is from I guess that's I can't remember the name of the size of the paper. In America, it's an 8.5 by 11.
It looks like A4 maybe.
Yeah.
But it might be
A4,
A3. Oh, no, it's too small for A3.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So you just print
A5, you'll think.
two sides, and then it folds. You fold in half lengthways, make a small cut halfway through, and then you got a little booklet that also opens.
Like aesthetically, zines are super cool. Like
yes,
it's one
definitely.
thing that we're keen to do with like the website that we've launched, because we're doing like an online magazine where we do like reviews and
as I did a review of the EP, which went out yesterday. Which
yes,
the EP is out today. As of when this goes out, it will be as of last Friday. but that Friday is today.
So point of clarification, the Wabash single is out and the pre-order for the whole EP is out. I misunderstood that when I sent you the information. I thought the whole thing was coming out, and then the label was like, no, this is how we're doing it. Oh, okay, cool.
It's crazy with that. I know, because I've recently started collecting tapes and stuff. Like when you buy them, and it's like, oh no, this is just like the pre-order for it, and then they make them and then they send them.
Right.
I forget, and then I'll get a tape
right
months later, and I'll be like,
it's a nice little surprise.
I know, because I bought the Feminizer split as well, and I'm like, oh, that's not going to arrive for like months now.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're moving soon. What we're gonna do?
I mean, what I'd do is maybe contact them and say like,
well, that's something I'll sort out later. It's fine.
Okay.
So if you order the physical copy, you get a Manawydan sticker and the mini zine and the cassette. So that's
word.
If you like collecting black metal ephemera, then this is your thing.
With the kind of like the aesthetic of zines, like I was saying earlier, there's something that kind of like massively lends itself to black metal, because zines was something that were like repeatedly like Xeroxed and stuff like that,
right
overexposed, which is almost something that like black metal tried to do artificially later with like album covers and stuff like that.
Right.
So for the website, we're kind of thinking about maybe like in the margins of it's taking a lot of Danny's photography, because she does like a lot of like gig photography, and then maybe like making it black and white and overexposing it to make it look all zine like, and making that the aesthetic of the website and stuff. So.
Yeah, because we're quite inspired by Astral. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I love that cut and paste Xerox look. It's just, it has its own aesthetic that
it's like the
nostalgic
kind of,
and
it's like a rough and ready kind of collage. Yeah, it's cool.
Well, because we're really inspired by Astral Noise, and like they release a zine every now and then. I've got a few of those, and they're really cool.
I've only got like, I think like one of their collection. I really wanted to get the Tolkien one.
I own the Tolkien one. They did like, it's like a collection of essays and stuff like that about Tolkien, because
I'm a big Tolkien
nerds.
Like I'm like covered in like Tolkien tattoos.
Nice.
But like Margaret Killjoy from Feminine School wrote an article for that, didn't she?
And then there's a zine in the UK called Hellbore, which is like an occult sort of zine. And I got one of those because there's a photographer I like called Nona Lemon, and she did like a load of stuff for that. So that's the only copy I've got of that. But yeah,
nice.
Very cool. I don't know what to add other than they're cool.
Yeah, I have a little zine collection that I have taken to the library, and I display it in the room where I work for teens, and so mostly like poetry and collage zines locally, and then my zines. So yeah, I love collecting zines, and it's just a fun thing. And I have a lot of artist friends, and to like collect their stuff is really, it's important to me, and it's dope in its own right. So it's cool to have.
Something that might be a bit of a strange one, but like what is like the scene of libraries like in the US? Because I know over here, like, because they get funded, don't they, from the government and that, like they've been stripped of like the resources are like crap. Like half of our local library, the half that used to be an art gallery, it was really cool, it's now a police station. And then the library is like,
I'm sorry.
The library is like half the size. It's still okay, but like things that made it interesting as well have just been stripped away.
Like
and
all the books and computers are still there, but like the side of it that was given over to art and stuff like that is gone.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, there's the library in St. Peter's Square in Manchester, which is massive, but it's also very intimidating. I just wonder what it was like.
I love that building though.
It is a great building, but
it varies across the country, really. So if you're in a rural area or small town, your library is going to be very limited, and the library board who manages that library is going to dictate what books are in there and what books are not allowed to be in there. And with some friends who work with rural libraries, I've seen the challenges that they face trying to get around the board and trying to make freedom, or make things free and available to everyone, without the political agenda. And that's a challenge. In my city, we have, there's about close to like 1.25 million people in Columbus, in the metro area, not in the city itself, but the whole metro area. Our library system is pretty well funded, and we have some beautiful libraries. And the branch that I work in is like 5 minutes up the road from where I live. So I'm lucky I get to work directly with my community at the library. We have a large immigrant, migrant, new American community here. We have a large Nepali population in this area, a large Somali population, as well as a lot of West African folks. And so that's our community, and those are the people that we work with. The art in our library is all local art, and it's mostly done by people of color. So that kind of stuff, and we have a great collection. So that stuff is great for our community. Not every community is as fortunate to be represented or to have the freedom to read whatever or check out whatever books they want. And in states like Florida, school libraries are being purged, literally purged of thousands of books that deal with history, African American history, evolution, reproductive,
Like, because I've been keeping a close eye on all the Florida stuff, and like it is getting crazy there, and it's kind of scary that DeSantis is like running for president and stuff. And
yeah,
not that I think he'll even get the nomination, but
yeah, that's a whole other thing. But there are so many of us who didn't think Trump could win. It was like, no way, this guy is so out there.
Yeah.
And he won. And so, it's possible if DeSantis got the nomination, he could win and put those policies in place nationwide, which is terrifying.
Like, I remember reading that they tried to remove To Kill a Mockingbird from the school syllabus in some states because they, quote, made some people feel uncomfortable, and it's like, that's the point of the book.
Right. And then, like, as you get older and you work, you involved in activism and stuff, you see that, like, there's a lot of flaws in To Kill a Mockingbird. There's a whole lot of white savior, complex and negative stereotypes and stuff in that book. So it's crazy. Even the most moderate liberal things are being banned. Let alone forget the radical left. It's the center is being banned, which is crazy.
Yeah. Do you have 5 songs which have inspired you musically? It could be anything. And we will play them on the radio next week.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be metal.
It doesn't have to be metal, no.
We've had like hip hop and like country songs suggested to us by artists.
The only thing is they can't be explicit because Ofcom will let us play Skin Milk by 200 Stab Wounds, but won't let us swear.
You can talk about flaying people alive, disemboweling them, anything, but don't you dare swear.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very American of you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to start with Shallow Then Hallow by the Cocteau Twins.
Yes. That's what I didn't touch upon. We'll get back to it, but the Cocteau Twins cover. We'll carry on with the Cocteau Twins.
Put a pin in that one. In the Shadow of the Horns, Dark Throne. Yes, baby.
Shadow of the Hornthrowers.
Yes. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Are you guys hip to Zulu? Have you played Zulu on the show?
No, but
okay.
Are they going to be like a South African sort of band that?
No.
Okay.
They are an all-black hardcore act from South Central LA.
I have heard of them. I have.
And they're freaking amazing. So Straight from the Tribe of the Moon by Zulu.
Yes, I have heard that actually.
Sick.
Yeah, they are amazing. Just absolutely brutal, punch you in the face, hardcore. It's great. I love
I remember I was like, somehow, I think it's when I discovered Scowl as well and Drain.
Yeah.
I just went down like
Yeah.
a hardcore rabbit hole, and then they were there. Yeah, I do know who they are.
Yeah, Zulu. Highly recommend. Let's see, what else have I been listening to? Okay. Leviathan by White Ward. Love White Ward. And okay, so a little note about bands like that. I love bands that play black metal, but do all kinds of weird shit that are not expected in black metal. And White Ward is one of those bands.
Yeah.
And I aspire to to be like that, to have a base in black metal, but bring every kind of influence in and really make it weird and uncomfortable for people.
It's why I love Psy so much.
Yeah.
Like just like ripping a weird like saxophone solo in the middle of like a black metal
Yes.
song.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's see, what else have I been on lately? How many are we at? 4? I can't.
I think that was I think that was the 4.
Was that 3?
Yeah.
Okay. The band Crypta. I think you played Crypta before. I saw them here last month.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they were amazing, and just a fantastic band and amazing, humble people. So Starvation by Crypta.
Yeah.
Love Crypta. Let's see what else. And Revocation was on that tour, and Revocation was amazing too. Whew, man.
Yeah.
I'd not been up on Revocation until that tour, and I was like, oh, okay, I was really missing out. This band is amazing.
Sometimes I love that though, when you go to like a gig and it's actually the lesser known support act
Yeah.
you've never heard of that just blow you away and stuff like that.
I mean, it was Morbid Angel as the headliner, but I was there to see Crypta.
Yeah.
Because for years I've been a huge Crypta fan since they first formed. But Revocation was fantastic. Yes, baby. What is it? What is it? Your teeth? I don't know. She's telling me something. Yesterday, she was real quiet, and I said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Nothing. Not pooping." So that's always fun. What is that 4?
I think that was 6 actually.
That was 6.
I mean,
okay.
You could give us an extra one if you want. I'm pretty sure the Revocation one won't be as long. They're quite short songs.
I'll stop right there.
Okay.
Do I have 5? Is that 5?
Mind.
I think it was.
I didn't
think it was
count.
6.
I think it was 6, but we don't mind.
It's okay.
Cool.
It's fine. It gives us less. It gives us less things to find to play.
Yeah, it makes our job of like programming next week go a lot easier.
Because we had this Thymia on last week, and they were shouting out loads for the bands. We were like, right, let's pick a song from that, a song from this, a song from that.
They pretty much, because they were doing like atmospheric black metal tracks, it programmed 5 songs, took like almost like an hour of our playtime.
So we were like, oh.
I love those songs, but I can't make it. I guess coming from punk, like 90 seconds is a full song, and so like I top out at 4 minutes, man. I can't make music longer than that, and like all the constant changes, you have to come up with more riffs for that. It's exhausting.
That was one of the things I found cool about your new single, is that like it's so concise and the chorus is so catchy, and then the solo is so good. Like that bit when the rhythm changes to go into the solo, it's just so good. And because it's so short, it's like it was I really liked it. I'll play it to you.
Thank you.
The Cocktail Twins cover though, that blew me away, because I really like Cocktail Twins, and as like to make an atmospheric black metal sort of song and take that is like genius. Like, what was the decision
Thank you.
for that?
Well, I think in keeping with the Make It Weird theme, I thought of some covers to do, because part of the exercise as a musician for me is to replicate songs that I like. And I'm always saying, like, I wonder if I could do that in the studio. And so I'll work on a track, and most 99% of that stuff will never be heard. But I enjoy that process. It helps me learn and become a better producer, better musician by trying to replicate tracks. So I thought, well, I have all these kind of chops for covers. Well, let me put a cover out there. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right.
I think it'd be sick then.
No, it's okay.
I need to Heimlich them. Just I'll pause. So Cocteau Twins came up. I love Cocteau Twins, and listen to a lot of atmospheric black metal. Has also put me in the mood to listen to more Cocteau Twins. And I just thought, let's do a Cocteau Twins song. And let's, the collective me and my personalities. So I went through, the album Garlands is particularly dark. And so I was looking for the kind of the darker rather than the lighter, beautiful ones. Well, I mean, they're all beautiful, but so Musetta and drums, I kind of settled on that. Because it does have that kind of dark atmospheric. And so I settled on Musetta and drums. I replicated the music as best I could. I was using Logic Pro, and there are a couple Lindrum kits in there. So I used a Lindrum kit and replicated the beat as best I could. And it was in 3/4 time, which I'm not used to working in 3/4 time. And a lot of their songs on their first few albums are in 3/4 time. But yeah, I worked it out musically, and I'm like, how am I going to approach this vocally? Because Elizabeth Fraser is an angel, and I don't want to desecrate her voice and be insulting to the Cocteau Twins, because I really love them. But I just worked out that vocal, and I mean, just using my vocal style, but really kind of worked out the delivery of the lyrics. And there's a line where Liz Fraser says she's turned 13, and that sounds creepy for me to growl into a microphone, so I changed it to she's turned 33. And, less creepy. But that chorus of like tragedy end, am I pretty enough? And that's just so creepy, but like in a fun way. I imagine myself putting on my Robert Smith lipstick and going, am I pretty enough? And so it was a really fun track to do. I get a lot of compliments on it. A lot of people like the way it turned out. No disrespect to Liz Fraser. She's a fantastic, wonderful singer, and the Cocteau Twins are just like a revolutionary band. They kind of invented an entire genre of music. I love the way that my mind's gone blank. It's Robin Guthrie. The way he plays guitars, and he doesn't want his guitars to sound like not guitars, singular guitar. Doesn't want it to sound like a guitar, and it sounds like an orchestra of weird spacey guitars, and I love that. And so there was a little bit of like metal chugs in the cover, but mostly I wanted it to be that kind of ethereal, spacey guitar, and I think I did that okay.
No, I really enjoyed the cover. Yeah.
Thank you. It was fun to do.
Yeah, I first came across Elizabeth Fraser. There's the song All Flowers in Time Turn Towards the Sun, which was like a demo that she did with Jeff Buckley. And that was the first time I ever heard.
I don't think I've heard that yet.
It's really, really good. And then I listened to Cocteau Twins afterwards through that, and then I was like hooked. Like, they're so good.
I have been a fan since the 80s, and I've never stopped listening to them. I'm not like big into nostalgia. I don't listen to the same stuff I did in high school, which a lot of people do. Most people my age are still listening to their favorite high school music, and I'm always looking for new stuff. But Cocteau Twins is one of those rare exceptions that I always have Cocteau Twins in rotation, and it still sounds new to me. You know, I don't have nostalgia tied to it. It just, I'm listening to it and I'm hearing new things with the guitars and the voice and the drum programming and stuff that I didn't catch 2 years ago, and I love that.
No, yeah, because I like that sort of dreamy sort of music. Like I really like Deftones. I think I like heavy reverb music, and I think that's why I like atmospheric black metal. So they're like perfect. And I also like, what the hell is she saying there? And I look at the lyrics, it's like, oh, she made up her own language.
Right.
It makes no sense.
I think the first 2 albums or so that it was English, mostly. But yeah, from there, I just, who knows? She's singing syllables, and it sounds amazing. It's an angelic language we're not evolved enough to understand.
We're not. So we might have to wrap up here, as I have to go to work soon.
That's cool.
So is there anything you want to plug?
Yes, I want to plug my new release. The Wabash single off the new EP is out today. You can pre-order it on Bandcamp. It will be on all the streaming services soon. So there's 5 tracks on there. I have a split with a good friend of mine, Acid Pool Moth Light. That's not his government name, but and that is on Human Hood Recordings, which you can also find on Bandcamp. There's a cassette pre-order. Ryan of Acid Pool Moth Light is the music is really atmospheric and really really well textured, and it's really good stuff. So there's that. Those 2 things are new out for me now. Liminal Dread Productions, my label, has a lot of awesome people, and I'm not just saying that because I need the money, which I do. But they have a very diverse roster. You're going to find a lot of weird, unorthodox punk and metal stuff on there that's really good, and very much in line with our values. You'll appreciate. Also, you can follow me on Spotify. It's under my producer name, which is Nordiq, Nordiq. That was before I became Manawydan, and so Nordiq 614, Nordiq 614, because I have tons and tons of playlists on there of weird shit from all over. That's not just metal. And so if you're like me and you're just a music nerd and you love everything, then follow me on Spotify and go to my playlists and find all the weird shit that I discover. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you guys. This is like amazing. Like I'm on the same virtual stage as like my heroes. Like Don Raid has been on here. Don Treader, my label mate. I was a huge fan of Don Treader before we became label mates. And Carl Willits from Bolt Pro. Oh my gosh.
That was a crazy one. That was crazy.
We couldn't even believe that happened. Like
it's amazing.
I jokingly left a comment on Facebook being like, oh, would Carl want to come on like this Left Wing Metal podcast? And we just randomly got an email in our email one day like, oh yeah, when can we do this? And I was like,
that's amazing.
We also have some kind of cool guests coming up, but we'll tell you when we've stopped recording.
Okay. So to be on this virtual stage with you guys is awesome, and I hope folks in the UK will give me a listen and support me and my label mates. I put a new engine in my Toyota Highlander, and so I'm really in the hole. So if you want to buy some cassettes, man, I need.
No, like check it out. I haven't had the chance to like listen to the new stuff, but the stuff that was already available on Spotify was really good, and I really liked it. So
thank you. There's more stuff. They've uploaded a few more things there recently, so give it a listen. And thank you. I appreciate you reaching out to me and appreciate the support.
No, excellent. Cool. Thank you again.
We'll round it up there. I will stop the recording.